Did you write that bio, Will? Okay. Wow. Good afternoon. Are y'all tired yet? Y'all look good. This is the first time I've seen people, like for real, 150 people at one time in 2 years. Almost 2 years to the day that we closed the doors at Tennessee Voice and said, everybody go work from home. It's crazy, y'all, but you look good. Would y'all stand up? I don't want to be the only one standing. I'm kidding. I want you to stop for a second and I want you to dig inside yourself and say these words. And I want you to mean it. And if you don't mean it, don't say it. I have a purpose. I am enough. Find somebody across the room, gaze at them, look at them in their real eyeballs, not their virtual screen eyeballs. Tell them you have a purpose and you are enough. You can keep standing with me if you want, but if not, you can sit down. There is a point, I promise, but it's pretty cool, first of all, to be gathered with like-minded, like-mission people. We'll see if I can make this thing work. Allison? It's the big button. Yeah. Thank you for that. Y'all, we have ourselves some problems in children's mental health. And I have a problem because I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to stand still for this whole thing and for this microphone. Do those work? Can I switch? Awesome. All right, is it working? Awesome. Yay. We have more students in the ED than ever before, y'all. We have more students attempting suicide, more students losing caregivers. Do you realize that during the pandemic that more teenagers and children lost their parents than they ever have to COVID? Their caregivers, their grandparents, the people in their world, the people they love. That's ACEs, that's trauma. We have more students that are sad, anxious, hopeless, more students on medication, more students showing up at your door for treatment. It's the truth. It's kind of sad, but it's where we are. But you have a purpose. I have a purpose. You chose to be the answer to this problem, which is why you're sitting here today. You responded to the call. If you're a spiritual person, you might feel a calling to this work. And I'm just going to invite you in the next 30 minutes to explore it one more time, or to think about it for the first time in a long time. Because the past 2 years have clouded our purpose. The past 2 years have got us off on a track of thinking about all the tragedy that we face, and it's been a lot. I've talked about it 110 times on the news just this year. Just this year. 110 times news media reached out to me and said, hey, can somebody from your office come talk on the news about mental health? Y'all, that didn't happen before the pandemic. I mean, it might happen for you, it didn't happen for me. So what are we going to do? Well, I've got statistics here. I'll leave them there for you to read. This is data since 2020 that's painting a picture. And the picture is we've got work to do. But if we're not reconnected to our purpose and we're not all doing what we're called to do, and we don't see ourselves as enough, then there's no hope. And if my topic is building hope for the future, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the ending. Surprise, you're the hope. You're the future. You're the way forward. You're the path that we've got to get kids on to get better. So let's talk about why. How did we get here? If you had an opportunity to see, we tried to spell it out loud, right, Will? We did a little documentary called The Story of Hope last year. And in that documentary, we talked about what was happening to people, what was happening to people's mental health during the pandemic. And one of the words we used was the word languishing. And languishing simply is defined as being stuck in an unpleasant situation for a prolonged period of time. How many of you were there, are there, have been there? Yep, we all languished a little bit. Some of us languished a lot. And we talked about what we were going to have to do to move out of languishing and into flourishing. The absolute opposite is where we wanted to be, but we struggled to get there. What we know is that our students struggled to get there. What we know is that the adults in their life were the people who got them to move from languishing to flourishing. That's you. That's me. The other thing that happened for students, and it's been happening for a long time, but obviously it was exacerbated by a lot of things, including COVID, natural disasters, tornadoes, floods, shootings, racial injustice, stuff that kept us up at night, a war in Ukraine. There's a lot of stress on kids right now. They can't help but hear it. I didn't tell my kids anything about the war in Ukraine before they heard it at school. And they came home and told me all about it. And I was kind of offended because I wanted to be the one to talk about it first. But the media and the news and social media and peers are in their world, and I can't stop that. I can't filter what they hear. So they heard, and now they've got all these questions and all these fears that I didn't think about them having before about war. Man, I was just trying to get through COVID. You know what I'm saying? They have other stress of the obvious stuff, the academics, the athletics, check the boxes, you know what they are, busyness, pressure to perform. Parents who put all their accolades on social media. Don't let me step on your toes, but people, we gotta quit comparing our kids. Social media is its own beast. Y'all know it, y'all see it. It's all over the news right now. I mean, look at what's happening, right? It's being blamed for a lot of our kids' problems, and maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I think it is. The problem with it is comparison. We live in a land of comparison. And students, unfortunately, have more pressure than I think I ever experienced in my life. I don't know about you, but it's different. We have pretty strict social media rules in my house. Sucks for my kids. They can't have it. The lack of support. This is the other why, and it was pretty awesome this morning. Although I wasn't here, I was watching Richard. Thanks for the story you told earlier, because that image is burned in my mind. But I love you. You know, I was listening to Dana talk about the helpers. This is so key in our kids' world. This is it. This is what I tell my kids all the time. 5 people, tell me right now, who are your 5 people? And they know what that means. I better be able to name 5 adults in my life at any time that I can talk to if I need something, or I need to tell something, or something bad's happened. It's got to be more than just me and Dad. It needs to be somebody at school. I hope there's somebody at church, right? You get that. That was such a critical part. I mean, I love that this morning. She was good. So it's a sad picture that I painted, but it's a reality, right? But we have an opportunity. Our efforts, our input, our innovation, our problem solving, our ability to show up for students is what we have to offer. But guess what? You're as human as I am. And all that stuff we just talked about, it's affecting you too. You're older, you're wiser, you have ways to cope, you have more skills than our kids do, but it's still affecting you. So I've just been really, really challenged to think about how we use ourselves. I could come tell you there's some great programs, innovations happening across the country, ideas that people have on what to do to stop all this data from getting worse, and there are some. But what I can tell you right now is that you're part of hope. You are hope. And if you don't connect to your purpose, we won't have hope for the people that are set in place in your life right now, today, that are part of the purpose you have to ensure their pathway to success, to wellness, to healing. You're the path. So I thought, let's just talk about us. If we're going to be here together and we're going to talk about what are we going to do, let's not waste any time. Let's dig deep. Let's figure it out. What are we going to do? My suggestion to you is to start with your own role. I said slow your roll because, it was fun. But the truth is, sometimes we see ourselves as insignificant in the grand scheme. The problem's big. The problem's big. What am I going to do? I'm not a boss. I don't run a company. I don't make decisions at the state level. I've never spoken to a commissioner or a governor. When they decide to do what they need to do, then I'll be able to do what I can do. Wrong. Wrong. We've all got something we can do. Working together is a great way to get it done. We've learned that over the years. Right, Carrie? But what are you going to do? Don't get lost in what you can't do. Don't get lost in your limitations. Connecting to your purpose and doing something. If you actually did what you actually thought about doing, you might be surprised how much you could change the world. There's a whole bunch of stuff I never saw myself doing. Matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of stuff I told myself I would never do. One of them was go on the news, right, Will? Right, Lakeisha? I told myself 1,000,000 times I'm not a public speaker, and I do not want a camera in my face because I blink too much. But I had a voice. I knew some stuff. And people asked me to speak, and I will never forget this moment. And I don't know if it means anything to any of you, but I will never forget being 25 years old. I had just been promoted from a therapist to a program manager. And my boss's boss, was the chief of a huge organization in Texas where I worked. And she invited me to a meeting, a big important meeting where people like Carrie Virgo were there. You know what I'm saying? Like people who work for the state who talk to the commissioners and the governors, people who might have a way to influence change. And I was nervous because what did I know? I was an MST therapist. I talked to families, helped them out, got kids off drugs. It was a pretty awesome job, but I didn't talk to influential people. And I showed up at the meeting and I didn't say one word, nothing. And my boss, she was scary. Her name's Sonia Gaines. She's now the commissioner of mental health in Texas. She's like a big, big boss now. She pulled me over to the side and she said, "Don't ever come to a meeting and not say anything." Whew, I was a perfectionist. My boss got mad at me. Ooh, I was gonna need therapy later. Whew, I let her down. So then I spent all night thinking, like, what could I have said? What could I have said? What was I supposed to say? These people are experienced. These people know what they're doing. These people have authority. I'm a program manager. What am I going to say? I never figured out what she expected me to say because I was too focused on what was right. How could I meet her expectations? What I got lost in was that I had an opinion, I had a thought, I had a voice, I had an experience. Later, I'd be realizing that I was a parent of a child who had terrible anxiety. And that experience was enough. That depression that I had after having babies was my experience, and it was enough to have an opinion about what was good and helpful. What would have helped me? I never saw myself as hope for the future until that day when she said, "Don't ever go to a meeting and not say something." Whew. That was a moment, y'all. What I also realized is I had to understand my role. I had to use what I had. And if it's only experience, then it's enough. And if it's education, it's enough. And if it's leadership, it's enough. Proving your excellence and your expertise, honestly, doesn't mean anything to kids. Not one thing. They need your voice. They need you to speak up. They need you to prioritize them, make your programs and services, whether you deliver them or manage them, they need to be prioritized on youth-driven principles, family-driven principles, system of care principles. So you got to live out your purpose, but you got to know what it is. You got to speak up about it, but you got to know what it is. You can't say something if you haven't figured it out for yourself. So get specific, intentional. Most importantly, vulnerable. It won't be easy. People are going to look at you like, "You're too young." I felt that way. Not anymore. Especially after turning 40. Everybody's always going to have something to say. You got to stop worrying about what that is and figure out what you're supposed to be doing to build hope for the future of our kids. All right, I threw some ideas on the screen for you. I'm not going to go through them, but here's some thoughts I had. If you know your role, then figure out what you can do with it. If you're a leader, take care of your people. The greatest gift you can give to the people, taking care of the people, is self-care. Encourage them to take care of themselves so that they can get the work done. If you're a parent or a caregiver, that's a whole other topic. I would need an hour. There's a whole bunch of great stuff we can do for our kids. I'm going to leave you on this one, and that is practice parenting built on mutual respect and not on fear. One day I'll write a book. I don't have time today. I don't. But I talk to my friends about it all the time. All the time. You want to make your kids do what you want them to do? Threaten them, make them scared of you, all that good stuff. You'll probably have okay kids. Yeah, they'll do it. They'll do it. You want to make your kids trust you, believe that you're saying what's in their best interest, that you've got their back and that there's safety in your home so that they can say what they need to say, be who they need to be. Build up mutual respect. Treat them like another human being. Mentors, advocates, people, you heard me, don't be afraid. Talk about it. Talk about mental health. You've got groups, you've got people, you've got parent friends. My kids, my girls wanted me to start a Bible study for middle school girls in my home, and I did, and it was fun, and we ate a lot. I thought boys could, I don't have boys, but I had heard boys eat a lot of food. Y'all, girls eat a lot of food in middle school. But anyway, they challenged me. They took Bible study conversations and started talking about stuff like, hey, what are we supposed to do when our friend says they want to die? Whoa, hold up, what? Hey, I'm a Christian. Am I supposed to be okay with people being gay? Whoa. Let's talk about real stuff. Yeah, let's do that. And I was just calling up moms, like, I'm sorry if you disagree. I said some things tonight that might not line up. Because I told your kids to love people and not care what they were bringing to the table. It was a sorry, not sorry moment. You know what I'm saying? I told them to listen to people. I told them to be friends with people who weren't like them, who didn't look like them, who didn't talk like them, sound like them, act like them. Look across the room. You don't exist in a bubble. I loved the illustration this morning that Dana had. Were y'all here to see the crosswalk story? Okay, that was awesome. It's fixing to make my point. Use what God gave you. If that's how you think, that's how I think. Use what God gave you. Use the people in your world, the place that you are, the community that you're in, the place that you live, and stop worrying about whether it should be better. Is my house big enough? Is my car cool enough? I love cars. Are my kids performing well enough? Man, I wish I would have gotten that job. Man, I probably should be doing something more meaningful. Stop telling yourself all that stuff. And bloom right where you're planted. It's the truth. So here's what I'll say. My timer says I have 6 minutes. Is that right? Is that what I'm following? Okay, somebody tell me. Am I done? Okay, I'm done. Here, build hope for the future. Here's what we say at Tennessee Voices. Heal past hurts, this is the HOPE acronym, heal past hurts through supportive care, overcome challenging situations and systemic issues, promote the power of a peer, topic for another day, but you feel me, engage in collaborative solutions, move yourself first, then do all this other stuff to build hope for the future. Move yourself from languishing, if you're there, to flourishing. We have ways to help you get there. Go on our website, tnvoices.org. Story of Hope. There's a toolkit, some cool stuff. And then from flourishing to leadership. That part takes intention. That part's next level stuff. It'll keep you up at night. Be a little unpleasant. But invest in yourself because you are hope for the future. You're how these kids get better, how the data goes down. We can't languish any longer. Unfortunately, our kids are running out of time. So Let's lead. Thank y'all so much.